So currently, as we fly through Vanilla Fresh Classic, Anniversary Realms have confirmed for us once again that we will see Burning Crusade, and we have had a huge demand for TBC Classic ever since we left it in 2022, as we had no Era Realms in sight, with the shouts for Burning Crusade Era having been going on for a long time. Yet the shouts for Wrath Classic haven't felt quite so prevalent. Yet don't be fooled, they certainly are there, as it was obvious for a lot of players who wanted Wrath Era servers by Icecrown Citadel, due to the overwhelming amount of people who just instantly quit the second Cataclysm Classic was announced. As for most players, leaving TBC behind was okay given you were heading into Wrath of the Lich King, seen as many to be the peak of WoW, especially when it came to subscriber numbers. Yet the appeal of doing Cata again for many players wasn't so well appealing, and since we have had consistent shouts for Burning Crusade and Wrath to return, but with BC's return now confirmed, shouts are beginning to question and hope that we will head into Wrath. First, it's good to take a look at why people might want Wrath back, and a big part of the appeal is how classes are played. As for a lot of players, Wrath was the most complete in terms of talent trees and capabilities each class had. Well, especially once Death Knights had been nerfed, but generally speaking, we had the addition of a lot of iconic talents and skills. For example, Paladins get Divine Storm, always sticks out in my mind, and there's a reason a lot of these talents and skills got added to Season of Discovery. They just simply work and are extremely fun. We had a good level of every class having a huge appeal to it on a general setting. For example, in Vanilla, if you want to top DPS meters, you kind of just have to roll Warrior or Mage. But in Wrath, there were a fair few options to be had when it came to blasting everyone away. Once again, this is post Death Knight nerf and more the experience we had in Wrath Classic I'm speaking about. And with the addition of Death Knights back in the day of Wrath's original release, DKs were seen ironically as a bit of a plague. Yet going back to Classic in 2019, it was interesting to realise what a big hole they did leave in a lot of ways. For a lot of players who had mained Death Knight since Wrath's initial release, meaning as a class they almost became part of the furniture in current WoW. So Wrath brings back a favourite class with Death Knights, and in that way, a lot of people's main class is situated in the expansion, meaning that until then, they're kind of just killing time with what might be their secondary favourite class to play, till the big man Arthur shows up, of course. And speaking of the big man, Wrath arguably had the most linear and best storyline that wrapped up the original Warcraft games. For many players, Arthur's story is simply the best. He's a great story of an all-time hero to villain, and you know that you're playing through the expansion, letting you see the story's conclusion firsthand, and to me that never gets old, much like rewatching your favourite movie or TV show that you might get the itch to go back to every year or so. And speaking of playthroughs, Wrath brought us some fantastic content. Every dungeon we ran through, besides a few annoying ones, Oculus I'm looking at you, felt really on point and a great way to blast through to gear up for raids, combining a great use of story woven line content and things that got you geared for endgame. For me, it kept me going a lot as I looked forward to running heroic dungeons by the time you'd outleveled your original content. And hey, sue me, I'll say it. I loved running Naxxramas again in Wrath, especially as a Death Knight. Yep, I'm one of those people. And still we get some fantastic raids that really stood the test of time going back through them again in Classic. And although Ulduar became a bit of a slog for the amount of time we had to run it, it was still great to see. And I think a lot of players were surprised by how much they enjoyed Trial of the Crusader this time around. For people nowadays who have less time to play WoW, it stood as a great in-between raid that you could smash through and still have some fun in. I think for the ultimate raid of Icecrown Citadel for me, which is probably still my favourite raid in all of WoW, we suffered a bit here as a community for the amount of people who quit due to Cataclysm Classic's announcement. So whilst I still had fun running it, it felt like a lot of the life and optimism was taken out of it by a lot of the players who quit, realising we weren't getting Wrath Era and having to move on to Cata. So this time around we do need to address some things. Firstly, I suppose if we progress onto Wrath Classic through Anniversary, we benefit from having some finer tuning this time around. For example, GDKBs have been banned already, and decisions about where to go will likely not be as blasé like they are in the current progression for Classic at Cataclysm. So hopefully this time around we won't get WoW tokens added to the Anniversary realms, and therefore no microtransactions start to creep into them either. These are already in progression on Classic WoW, so keep them there. We also have to see how players feel about other things like random dungeon finder being added when lower level content starts to become obsolete. I mean, I doubt there's going to be a lot of players running Scarlet Monastery by the time we're in Wrath, so maybe developing a random dungeon finder for content that is not part of the current expansion might be a good idea, I'm not sure. Just so leveling those dungeons for those lower level vanilla quests, and then eventually obviously Burning Crusade don't become nigh on impossible. And I suppose we need to take a look at catch-up mechanics, which we'll see more of in Burning Crusade. For example, in Wrath we got those adjusted heroic dungeons to give us raid gear, or will we just stick to the gameplay of heroic dungeons and raiding only? It's going to be strange to see some of the decisions that aren't too clear at this moment in time. We'd also probably need to situate some things for players to be comfortable and enjoy the playthrough this time, such as hopefully maintaining some Burning Crusade and Wrath era realms for players not to feel forced into further progression again and killing a lot of the community like it did in Wrath. Maybe Blizzard can promise these by the end of Wrath, so that the community can run through the original trilogy one more time, then decide to head back if they want to. But for me, it'll be interesting to see what they decide, as we aren't even in Burning Crusade yet. I think a lot of the players do kind of feel like it's an unspoken confirmation that we will head into Wrath of the Lich King again after Burning Crusade, and they're just saving the announcement for later down the line. Well, I suppose it'll be interesting to see what decisions they make this time around. For me, Fresh Vanilla has been great fun, and the game works a lot better this time around in my opinion, with the things they've added like the group finder and also banning GDKPs. And all of it wrapped up in the anticipation that we will head into Burning Crusade keeps me going too. But be sure to let me know what you think. Will we ever see Wrath of the Lich King Classic again, and do you even want it? Yet as always, take care out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Ta-ra for now. As always, if you're new here, feel free to like and subscribe. And on that note, I think I'll say ta-ra for now, and I'll see you later.